Yeah, sticking on the topic of wide receivers, I feel like there's a lot of buzz between either Carolina's pick or maybe even Cowboys at 12. Who do you think is going to be the first wide receiver off the board, and where do you like rank them between Egbuka and Tedero McMillan and all those great players that even Matthew Golden possibly being like mocked to the Cowboys at 12 or one of those three receivers? It feels like they're going to go pretty early.
Oh yeah, no, tons of talent at wide receiver. The first one I do think is going to be off the board is Tet. I think just his size, the physicality. But I don't have Tet as high as a lot of people do, but I'm fine with him going number one, being the first overall wide receiver taken. But in terms of my rankings, I have Luther Burden behind Travis Hunter, number one. But if we're not talking about Travis Hunter, Luther Burden would be my number one. And then it would be Mecca Egbuka, and then you have Matthew Golden and Tet. That's where I rank those four guys.
Interesting. So you have the guy that you think is going to go off the board first as your fourth best receiver.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's a little tricky there, but I do think he's a good fit for the Panthers. But yeah.
And just one more thing about that, like wide receiver rankings. I personally like Luther Burden a lot. I thought he showed a lot in the season before this one, and maybe like Brady Cook and him weren't like always on the same page. You just couldn't like fully get it together this season. But what do you like so much about Luther Burden? Obviously, he's one of the most physical receivers in this draft and just like an all-around beast. So what like his stock maybe dropped a little bit this year after a disappointing season. It felt like he was like one of the either the wide receiver 1 or 2 coming out of last season. But like, what do you like so much about Luther Burden?
Yeah, I do not think this guy should fall to the second round. I don't even think he should make it out of the top 15. This is a top talent. Some people like to compare him to Malik Neighbors. I definitely see it. He's a Walmart Malik Neighbors, if you will. Not as explosive, but definitely a guy that, is around that similar caliber. Great after the catch, great hands, even though they didn't measure up the greatest. He still has great hands. And in terms of his route running, a lot of people say he can't do it. I believe he can. A solid route tree. I think just Missouri didn't use him effectively. They tried to just put him in different spots. But yeah, I do think he's a good route runner and he's an explosive player, man.
So Steve Smith said that he didn't think that Tet McMillan was a number one wide receiver in the NFL. Obviously, if you're getting drafted in the first round, the expectation is at the very least you're number 2. Out of all of the guys that we've just talked about, how many do you classify as number 1 wide receiver in the NFL?
That's a good question right there. So out of the guys we talked about, I think Luther Burden is a guy that could be a 1. Ted McMillan can be a 1. I'll disagree with Steve Smith there. And Matthew Golden. Yeah, Mecca Egbuka is a 2. Is a Z or a Y. But yeah, the rest I think can be 1s in the NFL.
Travis Hunter included?
Oh, yeah, Travis Hunter. Yeah, if we're talking about Travis Hunter, yes, Travis Hunter's a 1.
Yeah, I guess every time you're kind of talking about the receivers or the corners, you kind of have to throw him in there too. Yeah. If he's playing both ways, you definitely think that he could be the number 1 on offense, or would he be more so better fit in some other packages, like maybe not just red zone, but maybe as like a 2 or like somewhere in the slot?
Yeah, so if we're talking he's playing both ways, I don't think you want him to be the 1 guy because, I mean, the physicality in the NFL is way different in college. And I doubt they're going to put him out there a lot, even though he wants to. But, yeah, if we're talking about him playing both ways, I think a 2 would be the best spot for him. A guy that won't have all the focus on him, but he can get in there and make big plays.